And we're back with another outstanding episode of the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could share, subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air or when I drop a late, great new video like the PC Multiverse, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, or the State of Pro Wrestling right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without a good friend indeed. She is rocking the Prince shirt.
And I just jammed my finger in a door. Ow!
And jammed her finger in the door, indeed.
It happened about halfway through your intro, and I've been holding it in.
Oh my gosh. She injured herself indeed. Only on this show can things like this happen. She is the mastermind behind, along with her husband, the great things going on with Vampires of Vitae, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and also the master of all that is LARP. It is Melinda Parkhouse Ross. And Melinda, do you need to get a Band-Aid?
Well, no, I think I'm okay for a minute. It's really stingy right now. That's all. Ow. That's what I get though, right? Like, I mean, we're in the middle of packing, we're moving. So like all of this is being emptied out bit by bit, and a door was open, so I was just going to close it, and my finger just went right in that little door. Okay, sorry.
My dream in creating Pop Culture Cosmos was not for it to be something that would inflict pain on others. So
not intentionally, anyway, right?
Yeah, not intentionally, but it looks like it has. So I apologize for that. I guess that's what we're going to do here on the show. Hopefully, we will not inflict any more pain on anyone out there by talking about the latest news and trends in pop culture. Melinda, I know that you've still been catching some stuff on streaming. So one of the things I do want to talk about is the troubling trend for some shows and how they ended their seasons or their actual entire runs lately. Been kind of concerned, especially if you're a House of the Dragon fan or Umbrella Academy fan. I'm going to go ahead and be talking about those shows later on. Plus, also as well, I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff that's going on as far as video game releases coming out, and then with Gamescom coming around the corner here in the next few days, how important that show may be. I'll go ahead and discuss that. But I did want to go ahead and congratulate officially Deadpool and Wolverine, which is now the most popular R-rated movie of all time, passing Joker at $1.08 billion at the box office, a tremendous feat indeed. And before we hit what's coming to the box office this weekend, Deadpool and Wolverine has had a summer. It ends with us. It's now thriving at the box office. Those days in which we were worried about what would be happening about the movie-going experience, I don't want to say they're over, but at least now I think these movie theaters can take a little bit of a sigh of relief.
Well, yeah, at least a hopeful one at this point. I mean, it still comes down to whether or not Hollywood is going to produce the kinds of movies that people are interested in going to see. And I just don't know that they've been doing that for the last little while. And it's very clear that there is a thirst for Deadpool and Wolverine movies. I think that, if you look at the movies that have done well, for the most part, they've been just good stories to tell. And, it's entirely possible that Hollywood needs to be paying a little bit more attention to the kinds of movies that audiences are responding to instead of trying to dictate the temperature of what the movie going public would be interested in seeing.
Well, it's good to see that people are going back to the theaters to catch movies and enjoy movies. I really like the fact that there are surprise hits out there like Blake Lively besting her husband during the course of the week and actually reaching the top spot ahead of her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and Deadpool and Wolverine with It Ends With Us. But this weekend provides a different, unique challenge. It's probably the last marquee name for the summer releases, and that is Alien Romulus. Watch out, it's a face hugger. It's coming to get you because Alien Romulus is coming out this weekend. I don't know what to expect box office wise. It's gotten pretty solid reviews. It's not like the reviews are saying that Alien is back in good graces. It's back to being the good old Alien that you know and love, but it does put the franchise back into a more how should I say positive light, especially with there's a behind it, there's a series, Alien series coming behind it, I believe coming to Hulu, and it just wrapped filming, I think, a couple weeks ago. So that'll probably be coming early next year at the at the outset. So the new importance of Alien, because we get all back around, come back around, always come circling back around to franchises again, whatever old is new again. But Alien Romulus could be the last big hit of the summer. Your thoughts on Alien Romulus, and do you think it will connect facial
Mhm.
to an audience
Is
out
it going to
there?
connect facially is what I'm hearing
Yes.
the question being
Yeah.
posed. It's probably gonna do fine. I don't know. I've never really that's a franchise that I've never really bought into personally.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's a big deal that there's a new Alien movie coming out. Like, is it a big deal?
It's okay. The
Eh,
reason why I think a lot of people are just unsure about it right now because of how long it's been out. Horror, as you know, even low budget horror still gets a pop, as they would say in the wrestling industry from time to time. So
mhm,
there is that uh, crowd that will go see the movie for what it is, and the fact that it is getting solid reviews, the fact that it does touch on and hearken on and pay homage to and respect to the aliens before it. It's a uh, it's set, I think, before Alien number one and Aliens, the two most popular Aliens movies. And I think it's
right.
set in between those two movies. So maybe that connection makes it hold a lot more dear as far as it's concerned. So I don't know what to read out of it. Be honest with you, I really don't know yet. I haven't seen what the sneak previews do. They usually give you a little taste of what they might do. If it's like a over 2 or 3 or 4 or $5 million, it will tell you exactly about what range you should be talking in as far as money. So I don't know. And that's the weird thing. I don't know. For the first time in a long time, I really don't know what to expect from Alien Romulus.
I think it's probably gonna do okay. I don't think it's gonna smash any records or anything like that. I don't
Mhm.
I just I guess the context I think that I'm missing is like, is this are they hoping to revive a franchise with this movie? Are they looking to
Yes.
okay. So all
Because
of
like
the
I said,
extra in the
they've already
basket.
got a TV series that they wrapped up. I believe Noah Hawley was the showrunner and
Right.
directed the episodes of that. So they've got a series that they just wrapped up filming behind us. So yes, they do want to revive the franchise again, which is something they've done before. I mean, if you look at the history of Alien, and actually, I think I probably will face the franchise next time I'm on with Josh because Josh is an expert on Alien.
Mm.
This is something that is down his alley that we could go and touch on. But yeah, I think that when you look at it, they've tried to revive this franchise several times to very mixed success. But with the positive showings, I don't think the cost and the expectations are as high, which may help it exceed those expectations this time around.
Right. Yeah.
They
It's
didn't put they didn't put 150, $200 million into the movie, which I think really helps its cause.
yeah, probably. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm really sorry. I don't have a lot of prediction on this one. I don't really have any
Yeah.
uh any really interesting insights or anything into it. But I mean, I've watched the movies, yes. I'm not going to go to the theater to see this one, but I'm also not the target that they would be trying to bring into the movie, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just curious to see what it will do. I Because this is one of the few times where I don't really have a gauge on how successful this will be, but I will be monitoring it, and we'll obviously report what happens next week with what happened with Alien Romulus. Definitely looking forward to seeing how well or not so well it does at the box office. And will it break up? Will a face hugger come into the middle of the Ryan's Reynolds
Mhm.
uh, Lively Blake Lively home?
Right.
We'll wreck that home with a face
Mhm.
hugger just right in the middle there.
Yep.
Yep. That would be funny if Ryan Reynolds on one of his Instagram or whatever just comes up and just says, "Yeah," with a face hugger right there on his face. It's, "Oh, you got me." But
It would be funny. Yeah.
we'll be interesting to see what happens. That actually, I think, if somebody makes it as a mask for Halloween, I think it will be very popular this Halloween if they do that. They make a face
Mm.
hugger mask, but that's just me. I don't know how you be able to breathe out of those things. I don't know how
Well,
you breathe out of those things in the first place, but yeah, there you go.
yeah. I mean, everything looks better on camera than it actually does in person. There's all kinds of ways to hide little things in
And
there.
if you could make it like throb in your face in front of your face like that, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be just like you go up to the middle of the Starbucks line and order, yes, can I have a
Yeah.
venti or cappuccino with a
Right.
twist, please? Yeah, right there with the
Yeah.
face hugger on. That'd be interesting. But
It'd be a nice mashup, Halloween costume would be Deadpool and the face hugger.
oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, yep. But we'll see what happens if there is a newfound interest in Alien. This will obviously give us a taste if that's going to be the case, and people will get back into the Alien franchise and the Alien series that's coming up after it. So we'll find out. But Alien Romulus is now at the box office. So please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. If you are going to check out Alien Romulus and if you're excited for the Alien series to come back to what's going on with the world of pop culture, Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, before we continue on our conversation, you had mentioned about LARP, your role playing extravaganza is really getting a little bit interesting. And I wanted you to go ahead and see if you had some time to talk about how interesting role playing for you has become.
Well, so the whole reason that Robbie and I both decided that we were going to try out our adventures in LARP was really to kind of do a boot camp almost of how to become a better role player and a better scene partner. When we're sitting around our tabletop games, uh, to improve and strengthen our podcast, Vampires and Vitae and Wizards and Wine and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been a lot more interesting than I expected it to be. It's a lot more emotionally charged than I expected it to be.
Mhm.
The things that I have watched my character do, and I do mean watch my character do, um, have been things in places that I never expected that the character would go into. Um, she at one point challenged the prince of the city for praxis, which means I challenged him to rule the city. I managed to negotiate myself up to seneschal. I say myself, I had a whole group of characters behind me. It was really cool. Um, but now what's happening is because she's been working with the prince so much, she's kind of gotten away from some of her supporters, and she's uncovering a lot of like really. intensely um, like esoteric uh kind of stuff happening in game, and that's really what she's interested in as a Tremere. She's interested in all of the magic and more of the supernatural things and stuff like that. So she's really kind of been focusing on that, and has been has been accused of being an infernalist. How dare you accuse my Salem of being an infernalist, which she is not. I will tell everyone that she's not. But
Mhm.
there are some who think that she may be an infernalist sympathizer, which she also is not. Um, but the path for role playing, specifically when it comes to trying to navigate all of this, is a real challenge, and a lot more so than I expected it to be, because we have had all of our experience at the tabletop game. But it's apples to oranges. Yes, it's still the game, and yeah, a lot of the language is the same and things like that, but it's a totally different ball game. It's the difference is shocking. We're about, I want to say, 8 or 9 months into this chronicle, and they expect this one to last for 2 years. And I just am starting to feel like I understand, uh, like the line that you have to create between game and something that they call bleed, which is where things and emotions and stuff that happens in the game kind of bleed over into real life, and it can be really problematic, not just at tabletop, but and not just in the LARP game, but like in any way that you play a character that interacts with other creatures, with other characters. So I'm learning a lot about that. I'm learning how to try to manage it. I'm learning about like how to see it. I think in other players as well, because there are other players who, even veteran players who have been playing for a very long time, and bleed and things like that just seems to be something that sneaks up on people, and it really can be a detriment to your life away from game, which is uh, it's really can be something that's difficult for people to try to struggle through. So that's kind of what I'm learning about right now, in terms of like the mechanics of the game, and how to be a better role player, and just be a better member of the community. So um, I'm kind of learning all of that at the same time. I guess my character is now in her villain arc.
Mhm.
Um, so that's been interesting. I never expected her to land on that side of the game, but here we are. Um, and yeah, it's going to be tough, because I got a lot of friends that are still on the other side of the game, and now
Mhm.
I'm on the villain side, I guess, if you want to say that there's even a villain side. Because also what I'm learning is there are two groups. Both groups want the same things. They just want different people doing the things. They want a different prince. They want a different seneschal. They want a different sheriff. They want a different scourge. They want a different keeper of Elysium. They want a different sheriff. They want a different shadow. They want different primogen. But the goals are exactly the same, which I find really interesting, because both sides would deny that, to the nth degree, I'm sure. But that's kind of where we're at. And this Saturday is going to be a pretty explosive game, and I'm already a little bit anxious about it, but it's going to be it'll be good.
Well, it's always interesting to get those updates from your world of LARP because, again, live action role play is something that it's out there, and it's something that I think a lot of people may take interest in if they're more aware of what live action role play is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would love to bring Alex back to talk about like running games. And I mean, he's definitely the expert when it comes to like helping people manage and identify bleed and what that is. And I think that I think it's probably one of the singular most important conversations to have when you're talking about LARP and a situation like that. So it might be a good idea if you want to bring him in to specifically talk about that, because it is pretty huge. I mean, Renegade, I think it was Renegade, released like a romance book supplement for Vampire the Masquerade, and in that book they specifically address bleed and things like that. So that's a great resource to you if you are currently in a game or at a tabletop to pick that up. Even if you're not interested in introducing romance into your chronicle, because you don't, obviously, it's not for everybody, but I think that the parts of the book that touch on bleed are really important for people to read.
So absolutely, yes. Always great, ready for a great conversation on LARP and that whole scene. So definitely want to hear from him. And if you get a chance to go ahead and do so, line that up, and we'll go
Mhm.
ahead and chat more LARP up here in the future. But before we head to the half-hour break, something you're also very familiar with is the PlayStation 5. And the PlayStation 5, there are some video game releases on the way ahead of Gamescom, and one of the most interesting releases, because it has been a dearth of releases so far this summer, but it is now starting to pick up as we get closer and closer to the fall. But Black Myth Wukong is now going to be available. The reviews are starting to come out, they're pretty solid. This is one of the many entries into the Souls like phenomenon.
Right.
So I want to hear your thoughts. This is, as of now, a PlayStation 5 PC exclusive. So trying to stay away from the Xbox as of this time. But your thoughts? I know that PlayStation 5 has not had a plethora of releases to it. And I know at Xbox is going to get all the pub here in the not too distant future. Oh, I'm sorry. It is coming to Xbox X and S. Yes, I'm sorry. Um, I need to correct myself on that. So it is coming to all platforms, including the Xbox Series X and S. So Black Myth Wukong. Before we talk about one of the other or actually two of the other major releases that are coming out in the not too distant future, your thoughts? But this has been primarily marketed for PlayStation, but for all the individuals out there that may be interested in another Souls like game, how does this now differentiate itself in this genre, which has now become so heavily populated?
Well, I mean, you make hay while the sun shines, right? So it
Mhm.
doesn't need to differentiate itself, or should it just embrace and you know, I don't know that that it wants to step away from all of that too much. You don't want to go too far.
Yeah,
Um,
but there's been some solid entries in the genre in the past 2 years that have not seen the level of success because they've just followed a pattern and a formula and not differentiated itself as much as you would like to see.
yeah, sure. Well, I mean, that's something that they that that's something that the people who control the video games are just going to have to fix. I
Mhm.
hope that that's not the case with this. It does look like a game that Robbie and I would probably pick up and we would probably play. But we still have Diablo 4 to finish. We still have Baldur's Gate to finish. We still have gosh, there's Vampire Rising, V Rising. We just picked that one up not too long ago.
Mhm.
That's been pretty popular at our house right now. I don't know that we need any more video games for us in particular for the rest of the year, but I think that this one does look like a game that I would pick up and I would probably try to play. It looks like it's exactly like right in the alley of all the things that I like. So,
Well, if that's the case, I want to go ahead and say that yes, it will be interesting to see how this plays out and see how this
mhm,
does comparatively speaking, especially because it's coming on the front end of what it could be a very busy fall for the
yeah.
video game genre. I know that Dragon Age Veilguard has
Mhm.
announced a release date in recent days to Halloween, so that adds a little bit of spice. I know that there's been some movement with some of the Xbox titles, actually Avowed being moved out of the 2024 year and moved into 2025, so that creates some space there. It'll be interesting to see what goes on with a game like this. Can it survive through the let's say now through late August into September? Can it thrive and find a marketplace and find its own niche, or will it fold or find itself hidden in one of the better games that are out there this year, but unfortunately, maybe because it just didn't find it or resonate with an audience. We'll see what happens there. But before we head to the break, I do want to mention a couple other games. The obligatory Madden is going to be available in all of its glory. Solid reviews, positive reviews, I should say, for now, for the most part, which is interesting because College Football 25 came out earlier this month, and that came out to a lot of surprise and a lot of love. So will there be any more for Madden? I don't know, because it'll be interesting to see how that's placed, because Madden is so popular in normal years. But Star Wars Outlaws is coming here in the next week or so as well. Has your eye been at all fixed on Ubisoft's very interesting ode to the Star Wars universe, being in that the first real Star Wars open world game?
I mean, I'm certainly intrigued by it. I think it's about time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel I can't. I found it hard to believe that there wasn't one already. Honestly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about time. I hope that it does well. I hope that it does good things. I feel like Star Wars needs a win.
That it does. That it does. I mean, lately we've seen some pretty good games with the Star Wars Jedi Survivor series.
Yeah, that's
Both
true.
those,
Yeah.
both of those have been solid. But some of the other EA entries have not fared as well. So the Battlefront series, I'm looking squarely at you. Star Wars Squadrons, solidly reviewed games, but just basically got swept up in the marketplace. So yeah, definitely want to see what Star Wars Outlaws will do, because it does not have a traditional Star Wars protagonist. There is no Jedi involved,
Mm.
supposedly, in this game. Jabba the Hutt, whether or not he's part of the adventure or part of the paid DLC adventure, remains to be seen. So I want to see how that works itself out. But yeah, it's very interesting what Star Wars Outlaws will do, and how it will perform. But that will be out on all platforms here in the coming days, and hopefully we will be able to talk more about it and talk some positive light about it. But again, the reviews are not out as of yet, so we'll see what happens there. But Madden, Star Wars Outlaws, and Black Myth Wukong. The video game race is heating up, and that's a good thing that we're finally getting in some good titles before the year ends into a very slow year to video games.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that we're gonna hit like October and it's just gonna start raining video games on us.
It would be about time,
Yeah.
because, like I said, it's been a very slow year for video game releases, but
Mm.
we'll see what happens. But are you picking up Madden, the latest Madden? Let us know your thoughts on that, or Black Myth Wukong, or Star Wars Outlaws. Please let us know your thoughts on if you're going to pick up one of these titles, and if you think it's going to spice up the video game industry. Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. All right, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross, the legend of
No.
LARP that she is, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Hopefully, she is not bleeding to death at this point in time after her incident as we started the
Yeah.
show. You still okay? You got a fingers
Yeah,
all
yeah, no,
10?
it's still there. It is still attached. See, it was this
Okay.
one. It was this one right here. It was this
All
guy.
right.
So it is still there.
Okay.
And yeah, it seems to be okay. It seems to be managing perfectly
Should I go and seek out Curad or Band-Aid as a sponsor?
fine. Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I'll go ahead and do that. Work on that right now. So yes, it is of course Melinda Barkhouse Ross along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. It is the Pop Culture Cosmos PCC Multiverse, our weekend show dedicated to the world of pop culture. But before we head on out, 1/2 hour in, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go. Some disappointing things I've seen lately in the world of television. And I do want to mention that, and I wanted to hear your observations. House of the Dragon came in with season 2. Seemed like par for the course. They had some flying dragons during the course of the season, which everybody loves. Has a little bit of blood and gore, which everybody loves.
Right.
The usual connect the dots. And then it kind of left you flat, not on a cliffhanger. It just kind of left you flat. Now, this isn't the finale. Like, of course, it's Brethren, Game of Thrones, which pissed everybody off to no end as far as how it ended the series. There's still more House of the Dragon to come. In fact, they just mentioned again. I hate when they do this. They said already that season 4 will be the last. I mean, just stop it. I don't
Yeah.
want you telling me when it's going to end until the
Yeah.
actual year is going to end.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. Stop launching a show and like after the pilot when you get the, inside the episode. Yeah, we want to tell the story over 5 seasons. Well, then
Don't tell
why?
me that.
Yeah, why? Just write the book. Just give me a book. I'll read the book. I don't need to watch the show. Come on.
I mean, just like The Boys, this past season, it's just a filler season. You've got,
Yeah.
okay, season 3 coming up with House of the Dragon sometime next year or whatever. It's going to be a filler season because they already know that season 4 is going to be an endpoint for the series. And
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like it when they do that. I can't stand it. It just really irritates me to no end when they do that. I don't want to know when it's going to end until that final season. Until you actually see the
Yeah.
previews and it's this is the final season of House of the Dragon. Yeah, fine, let's do it then. But don't tell me like
Yeah.
2 years in advance. I don't want to know that. I really don't. I just think it sets it up for wrong. But getting back to House of the Dragon itself, season 2 kind of was a meh ending. And for a show that actually was doing and is doing extremely well, ratings wise, even in the
Right.
midst of the Olympics and everybody watching that, it still found its own audience and quite a bit. Do you think this will hurt or hamper future 2 seasons? I can't say future seasons because there's only 2 more. The future seasons for House of the Dragon, do you think there will be a problem with that?
I think that we are all still carrying the bitterness of what happened with the final season of Game of Thrones. And I
Mhm.
think that we are all going to be carrying that for some time because of the level of disrespect. Truly. So when we come across a show like this and we're like, okay, maybe we're ready to forgive, maybe we are ready to move on, maybe we are all ready to heal
Mhm.
and carry on. And they gave us a good show. We did. It was a good show. Um, they gave us dragons, which is, yes, we want that. We want lots of that. Give us war. Give us gruesome things. Give us beautiful people doing terrible things to each other. That's what we want to see. That's what we want out of Game of Thrones. And if you're gonna have a finale episode, it needs to address a lot of that. And when you when the public is all saying the same thing, you
Mhm.
need to come out swinging, really, in the first episode of the next season. If they don't, it's going to be the start of a very quick decline. I think in terms of viewership, I think that there are people who, again, are still gun shy because of what happened with the last season of Game of Thrones and how upsetting that was, and I don't think that we believe that it's not going to happen again.
Mhm.
And I think that that's why a lot of us looked at that and we're like, well, starting to feel a little bit familiar, and I don't know that I want to go through that again.
I don't blame you. And we'll see if that happens with House of the Dragons, but there is 2 seasons left, so we'll
Yeah.
see how that pans itself out. But just was kind of disappointed as far as a flat. It wasn't terrible by any means, but it was just kind of flat. I think a lot of people had expected something better from House of the Dragon, but I still think that this will not tune out or turn off people's desire to see House of the Dragon. I think a year from now, when the House of the Dragon season 3 or whenever it does come out, I think that it will actually find still a large audience that is waiting to go ahead and see it. But I think the other main show I want to go ahead and grumble about is Umbrella Academy, and the Umbrella Academy ended its run after 4 seasons, kind of on a afterthought note in the world of Netflix recently, because while other shows, Cobra Kai, which I love, absolutely love, is getting this like grandiose 3-part season end or series ending where it's been broken up into 3 parts over the course of the next 6 months. And now the trendy thing to do with these series, like for instance Stranger Things and Cobra Kai, is to
Mm.
break these up and make it special over the course of time, for so you have to come back. Umbrella Academy, which was once at that level when it started, Umbrella Academy was at a level near what those other shows for Netflix was doing, but not to be the case. It was released, as far as the final episodes, that doesn't even get a full 10 episode order like seasons 2 and 3. It just got 6 episodes and kind of swept under the rug. And it just seemed like throughout with that final season I was watching, I just felt like it was just an afterthought. And it was just an afterthought by everyone involved making it, everyone involved doing it, Netflix. It just seems like Umbrella Academy ended with something much less than I had hoped for. It wasn't terrible, but it was just like, okay, we're gonna finish this up. We give them an ending. They save the world or save the universe once again, and we're on our way. There you go. We're done.
Yeah,
Finito.
it's yeah, I think that there are a lot of people who definitely feel the same way about it. We went back because we hadn't watched all of the last season, so we went back to the beginning of the season and we started to watch it again. And I don't know if it's a change in Robbie and I, or if it's a different perception somehow that we had of the show, but neither of us were interested in watching it once we put it on. I was like, I it's a ball of nothing really for me at this point. And Robbie and I were fans, like you said, of the first season. It just feels like it didn't keep a hold of us, and I'm not really sure what exactly it was, but it just, yeah, I don't know. It felt like a nothing burger. I don't know how to explain it better than that.
And that's a shame because, again,
Yeah,
like, it was one of the when it first came out, it was one of the marquee shows
yeah,
for Netflix. People were excited to hear about it and see how it was based off the very dark comic series, and a lot of people were interested in following it and seeing where it was going to go. And it had an interesting premise about the alternate timelines and rewriting history and things of that nature that they were
right.
trying to stop or prevent, or in some cases cause,
Hmm.
which provided some interest at the beginning of the series. But yeah, I don't know whether it was the amount of time that was broken up due to whether it was COVID or whether it was strikes or what have you, that might have ruined the momentum for
Yeah.
this show. But there were other shows like Cobra Kai that still have been able to find some interest, and obviously as far as some love still out there from Netflix and its viewers. When it comes to the Umbrella Academy, I just don't think that it just resonated and continued to resonate with fans out there. And I'm sorry to see that, because it was something that came in like a bang and went out
Hmm.
with a whimper.
Yeah, and it's too bad. But sometimes, you get these gargantuan shows that nobody, I don't think, expected to do as well as it did.
Mhm.
And I think perhaps they didn't really have much of a plan for the show beyond a couple of seasons. And maybe that's what we see play out when we see things go so horribly incorrectly for a show. Maybe they
Mhm.
just didn't expect the level of success and expect it to kind of just had it fade off into the sunset, and that's not what happens and not what people are expecting, and now it doesn't matter what they give us, we're not gonna be happy with.
Well, and does it bear good signs then for shows like Stranger Things or other shows that they plan to finish off? I mean, Cobra Kai, they've already filmed it. It's in the can and it's going to be shown out in 3 separate. They've already got part 1 done. There's going to be a part 2 and then a part 3 that's the final part of the last season of Cobra Kai will be shown in its entirety next year. So they've got that mapped out, but Stranger Things is going to follow that same formula because it is Stranger Things. A lot of people are going to be excited, even though it's been like almost 2 years by
I was
the
gonna
time
say,
it
I feel like it's been a long time, yeah.
it has been a long time. So if that's the case, do you think that there still would be that kind of excitement for Stranger Things when it finally gets released into the wild or whatever part? Because it's going to be broken up. It's just like it was. Remember, that was the first. That was the first show to actually have a season broken up like that on Netflix, to my knowledge, to my recollection. So before it's shown to you in these parts, is there still going to be the same magic this time around, pun intended, for Stranger Things?
I think that Stranger Things, well, maybe. I don't and Robbie is baffled by this all the time. That's another show that I've not really it never really grabbed me. And it's legitimately a great show, but it's just not something that I really dove into. But um I think that the people who love Stranger Things are people who are going to go to the show regardless of what the show does. And I think that that's going to be enough to carry it through this final season. I think that it's going to end well. It seems like the writers really care about the show. I haven't heard a whole lot of grumbling from the fan base, and that's usually like the first giveaway for what's going to happen with the series is how grumbly the fan base gets.
That's for sure. So I think a lot of eyes
Yeah.
will be on, uh, exactly how it finishes up with uh, Stranger Things, but I hope it finishes a lot better than Umbrella Academy. It wasn't bad; it just was there, and I just thought it deserved a little bit better, a little bit more love. I thought it again for a show that was once one of the mercurial shows for Netflix. I thought it deserved a little bit better love than what it got, but again, it is what it is. It's 6 episodes, so it's a pretty easy watch. So if you want to finish up the Umbrella Academy to get that, I almost feel like it should be like Xbox achievements where you finish off on Netflix and it just gives you a blink. You did, you get 1,000 experience points for finishing
Right.
off the series or something like that. But again, it is, of course, Umbrella Academy and also as well House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon finished off season 2. Umbrella Academy finished off its series at season 4. So please let us know your thoughts. Did it end both of these shows the way you wanted to? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, one segment of pain, and really it was pain, especially with your finger right there before we head on out.
Still
So,
throbbing, by the way. Just to let
uh,
you know.
um, your husband is going to have to take care of that indeed. But before he could go ahead and attend to the wound,
Mhm.
I do want to go ahead and talk to you about Paramount because Paramount earlier this week, they made the announcement that they're getting rid of Paramount 2 TV Studios. Is done because
Wow.
they, with the massive cuts in costs. So Paramount TV Studios as a whole, and it wasn't just for anything Paramount or CBS related. It's for some they had shows on other networks. Paramount did, but yes, Paramount TV shows or studios, excuse me, Paramount TV studios are shutting down entirely. I don't know how yet if it's going to affect or how it will affect Star Trek because again, Star Trek it showed out recently at Comic Con. They got Section 31 movie that's already on the way. They've already, showed off the trailer for that. talked about Starfleet Academy and the all-star cast coming for that show. But I have a feeling these costs, the way that Paramount and Skydance are going to merge together, all
Mm.
these cost cuts, it will affect Star Trek in some way. Is it just time for Star Trek to be sold off and go somewhere else? Is it just time? Do you
It's
say
y-
it's just finito for time and Paramount?
yeah, I think it may be time for Star Trek to move on and start a new chapter. It feels like it's been a toxic relationship for a little while, and it
Mhm.
feels like Star Trek has taken an awful lot of abuse, and it feels like Star Trek has taken a lot of hits that it doesn't deserve. And I think that perhaps a new studio and a fresh set of eyes and people with fresh ideas of where we can take Star Trek from here might be exactly the right idea. Sometimes forced change is exactly what you need to get to the next level. Sometimes staying exactly where you've been is the only thing holding you back. And that may be what we are seeing happen to Star Trek
So where would it go in your estimation? Where do you think it should go? Who do you think? Let's just say that Paramount,
with it.
the
Mhm.
Skydance, they get the itch to start selling off some of its IP, like Mission
Yeah.
Impossible and Star Trek would be the first two people would go after as far as it's concerned. So where do you think it should go?
Gosh, that's a huge question. Where would you want it to land?
Netflix?
Netflix, really? You'd want it to
I
go full stream.
I just think it if because
Well,
we talk about
we've talked
this
about this, yeah.
we talk about this about the future of Star Trek. We've had like 3 conversations on the future of Star Trek because
Yeah.
the future has been so uncertain for Star Trek. I want Star Trek to reach the audience I felt it has always deserved to get. I think the time that it has gotten the most acclaim or notice was sadly when it was a syndicated show on the Next Generation and reaching over 20 million people on its
Mhm.
initial entries and years in. And I think at its height, I was watching a special the other day on it, and I think it's high at even in its regular viewing is still averaging over 10 million viewers. And I think that's probably the most when you could say when it hit the mainstream. Not even the J.J. Abrams reboots have garnered worldwide the kind of numbers to justify its existence. I mean, so many people have seen the Star Trek reboot, but only because it's been rerun on cable and television and just throughout the years. In fact, it was a staple of just cable television over the course of the last decade. So that's why people know it, and it's transitioned well from there. But it on its own initial run didn't generate the worldwide money or acclaim that it should have. And so I think that Star Trek, in order to get to that next level, to get to that level where I think it had or has with the right formula, has the chance right now for the first time in a long time, Melinda,
Mhm.
has the door opened for it to surpass Star Wars. I know that's a crazy thing and most likely will not happen.
Right.
I think it had a chance right around when the prequels came out. I think that Star Trek had a chance because of the TV shows were doing well at that time in the late
Mm.
90s. They transitioned to Deep Space Nine, and it had a chance with the movies. Had the Star Trek Next Generation movies done well, I think it had a chance to overlap what Star Wars has done, was going to do at that time. But
Right.
Star Wars ultimately, what it does, even despite all the mixed stuff that's gone on, despite all the good and the bad with Star Wars during this century, it is far surpassed the visibility wise than what Star Trek has been able to accomplish. I think that Star Trek had its chance, and then unfortunately didn't pull it off. But I think now again with very much uncertainty with Star Wars, I think the Acolyte is left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Mm,
I think that Skeleton Crew excites no one. Sorry, Jude Law. Um, and with that, I mean, Andor is solid. You know, a lot of people will like that, but I don't think as many people want to watch that. For some reason, I just don't think it you know, a lot of the people who watched it like it. The
right.
problem is I don't know how many people actually ended up watching it. So I think if it's on the right platform with Star Trek, if it's on the right outlet, that it be have to be Amazon or it have to would be Netflix. I think either one of those platforms, if it was to be an IP put on those platforms, and if it was done in a way, I think like for instance, if the reboot had been done now and put on Netflix, I think it would be a major hit. I
Sure.
really think it would have been a major hit because I think it would be resonating with a today audience, and that's who it needs to go to is Amazon or Netflix at this point in time.
I wonder how Amazon would do with it though versus Netflix.
They're mixed results. I mean,
They really are.
for every Fallout and the
Mm,
boys, they've got like Lord of the Rings, you know, for all the hundreds of millions of dollars they put into it, it didn't
yeah.
they put it out the same time as House of the Dragon. They got their butts kicked, but
Yeah, they
now
did.
they find they're being smart about it. Oh, House of the Dragons is gone. Okay, we're coming in now. Here, in fact, they're coming out next week with it.
Yeah.
You notice the dust is already settled with House of the Dragon. Oh, okay, we can come out and play now. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that goes and that generates as far as Lord of the Rings are concerned. So it's a very mixed record, but it is over 200 million viewers. So when something does hit Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Fallout, especially, Fallout got some love as far as an advance notice, but people just really resonated to that on its own. It got a life of its own, Fallout did. And I really think that if Star Trek went there, it wouldn't give as much love as Netflix would give it, I think, but it still would have a chance to be a big hit on that platform.
Yeah, I think that Amazon could do pretty good, I think, with Star Trek. I'm not saying that Netflix can't. I
I
just
think
feel
since they own the MGM license and the James Bond license, I'm very intrigued to see how they treat the James Bond license going forward.
mm, yeah, that will be interesting. Yeah. Are we gonna have a James Bond series? That would be I would watch that.
We'll see. I mean,
I guess so that could be kind of like The Gentleman. Did you watch that on I think it's on Netflix.
which just got renewed for a second season.
Good.
So
It's so good.
it's
It was great.
yeah, Guy Ritchie's
Yeah,
career just like up and down. He is just like
right.
puts out a turd, puts out something good, puts out
Yeah.
yeah, it's just up and down, and then he'll just do it like back to back to back. It's like, didn't he just release and direct something last week? He just came out. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There you go. All right.
yeah. But
But
I mean, The Gentleman is like a 10-hour long movie, really, you
but
know? You
yeah, it was, but it's gotten a lot of favor. Got good numbers. Got a second season renewed, so I'm very happy for that. See, that's like you said, something that's promoted well on Netflix, and I think that if Star Trek were to be sold off, I think that it would probably be best suited to go on a Netflix or Amazon platform. But Amazon, like you said, it's very touch and go. So Netflix, I think, if it were to succeed anywhere, Netflix, and that's something that for Netflix would be a key because Netflix does, even though it does so much of the dartboarding as far as throws stuff at the dartboard and whatever sticks. They do want their marquee IPs. They do like their Stranger Things and their other stuff that they do go ahead and have marquee Bridgerton and things stuff like that
Mhm.
that really resonates with audience. So if this were to be something that they could acquire and be able to make a hit out of, bigger hit than at any point in time in its history, that would be a big pat in the back for Netflix.
It would be, and it would be, and there would be a lot of Star Trek fans who would really appreciate that, so, um, yeah, I
Would it?
can't really
Would it? Let me ask you that. Would it? Because some fans, Star Trek fans, I think like the place that it's in. I think they're comfortable with the place that it's in. in some
Wha
cases.
oh, don't let this be a discussion of, "I can't like it anymore because it's suddenly successful again." Don't let it be that conversation.
I hope it isn't. I hope it is, but
Oh
I think
gosh.
do you think I think there will be some brushback if that was the case from fans.
Well,
Remember the same fans who poo-pooed on Star Trek: The Next Generation because it wasn't their Spock and Kirk and McCoy.
yes, and who weren't excited about Janeway, and who
Yes.
weren't excited about Cisco. I mean, come on, right? Here's the thing. We understand that Star Trek needs to find itself a new little audience. And that new little audience is not going to be grown by doing exactly what Star Trek is doing right now. I understand that there are people who don't want Star Trek to change, but Star Trek has to. It has to evolve. It's like every other show, it's like everything. It's never going to stay exactly the way that you remember it or the way that you loved it the most. And that's unfortunate for you. The good thing is that you can buy it or you can call it up on your little streaming service and you can go back and watch that stuff whenever you want. But your opinion should not be impeding the success of a program because you're comfortable with it being on the lower side of mediocre. It's not acceptable.
So we'll definitely see what happens, but that's just a suggestion. I mean, with the troubles of Paramount Studios, the TV studios itself being shut down, there's a very real possibility of sell off, which we haven't seen in quite some time as far as a IP sell off per se. But it'd be interesting to see if that happens because that is on the table from what I'm hearing as far as selling off some of the more popular assets of the Paramount TV empire. And the first two places, the first two places they would go would be Star Trek and Mission Impossible, just because the libraries involved, not even mentioning whatever is new on the horizon. It would be just outstanding to see what would be going on with that. But yeah, if I was Netflix, I'd be licking my chops.
Right?
I'd be licking my lips and
Yeah.
saying, that would be a tasty treat for us over here at Netflix is to get one of those two IPs. So, again, for me, it's just all about betterment of the franchise. And with
Yeah.
the Netflix money coming in, you can make a
It
pretty
would be
good,
hard to
darn,
say that that wouldn't happen, you know?
yeah, you can make a
There
darn good Star Trek with some Netflix money.
you sure can. Yeah. Hopefully.
Hopefully, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. But if you have thoughts on the Paramount buyout, sellout, just disappointing way that has been looking for Paramount Studios. And do you see a bright future for other aspects of the Paramount universe, including, of course, Mission Impossible and Star Trek? Do you see them going into new homes? Netflix, Amazon, somewhere else? Disney? That would be weird if it ended up
Star
on
Trek
Disney.
on Disney.
That would be really weird, but
That would be really weird.
who knows? But please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode as always. You knocked it out of the park and closed the door on your finger yet
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
on this episode. You closed the door on this episode per se. But any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
Just that, well, I mean, it's been a long time since we've published any podcast episodes, and that's definitely not going to happen over the next month or so while we pack and relocate and all of that stuff. So I don't know when exactly we're going to be back up, but hopefully we're not going to be down for all that long. I'm looking at probably November before we get back to publishing episodes on a pretty regular basis, but I can't say for sure until
Well,
the move
that's
happens
okay
and all of
because you
that.
know why? It's a great time to get into the library of
Mm,
Vampires and Vitae.
there you go. We
Catch
do
up.
have yeah, we do have, like, a full season with season 1. Well, we have most of the season anyway. There are lost tapes, but that's because our recording equipment at the time was terrible. So, if you do go back to season 1, it does get better. I promise you the audio. So, yeah. We would love that if you checked it out, to be honest. I miss Anna. She was my season 1 character. I miss her quite a bit. She was a lot of fun.
I hope you get a chance to revisit again. So we'll see what happens, but it's Vampires of Vitae. Please catch up with all the episodes before new episodes come out later this year. Vampires and Vitae, indeed. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, who will hopefully not close any more doors on her finger, it is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great and fantastic and safe day.